They say Christmas is the safest night of the year, that nothing bad happens when the snow is falling and the lights are warm and polite. But I know that's a lie, because on one Christmas Eve, I heard bells ringing where no sleigh could travel. I smelled iron beneath pine and cinnamon, and I watched something dressed like Santa Claus step out of the woods, moving too slowly at first, like it wanted me to understand what was coming. I never believed in Santa after that night, and if you're listening to this now, alone, while the house is quiet, you shouldn't either. I didn't grow up afraid of Christmas. Briar Hollow was the kind of town people trusted. Trimmed lawns, soft snowfall, white lights glowing on every porch like rehearsed smiles. Nothing ever happened there. That's what people said. That's what we believed, until the night. We went to my uncle's house at the edge of town, the one leaning toward the woods. I remember thinking the snow felt staged, like it was hiding something. And when we pulled into the driveway, the air smelled wrong. Not like winter, not like pine. There was something metallic underneath it, faint but sharp, like a cut you don't notice until it starts bleeding. The house was already dressed for Christmas. Tinsel sagged from the banister. The tree glowed in the corner. Gifts were stacked too neatly, untouched, waiting. But the warmth inside felt thin, stretched like the walls were hollow and listening. My cousin asked about the dark smears along the baseboards. My uncle laughed too loud and said it was cranberry sauce. But cranberry sauce doesn't dry black, and it doesn't flake. The radio crackled when my aunt turned it on, carols dissolving into static, then into a low hum that made my teeth vibrate. I felt a headache forming, deep and heavy, like pressure building behind my eyes. Dinner passed with forced cheer, smiles held too long, forks scraping plates too loudly. Then the lights flickered once, twice, and went out. The Christmas tree lights stayed, unblinking red, green, like a pulse refusing to stop. That's when we heard heavy footsteps upstairs, slow, deliberate, like boots counting each step. My uncle grabbed a flashlight and went to check the breaker. The beam cut across the ceiling in frantic arcs before snapping off completely. There was a wet sound, a gasp, then silence, the kind of silence that hurts your ears. My aunt screamed his name and ran up the stairs. We tried to stop her. We failed. Her scream joined his, cut short by a sharp crack, like bone against wood. The tree lights flickered faster, and outside the window, footprints appeared in the snow, one by one, circling the house, testing it. That's when the front door creaked open on its own, letting in a breath of freezing air, thick with the smell of iron and rot. And from the hallway, something stepped forward. It was shaped like Santa Claus. The suit was soaked dark, the beard matted, the red hat torn. Where its eyes should have been were black hollows, reflecting the blinking lights like empty ornaments. It dragged a sack behind it, leaving a smear across the floor. And when it lifted its head, the radio crackled back to life, not with music, but with a child's voice, counting slow, patient. The counting didn't come from the house speakers. It came from everywhere at once. The radio hissed between numbers, the child's voice calm and careful, like it was savoring each second. The Santa thing took one heavy step forward, the bells on its suit jingling softly, not cheerful, not playful, but measured, controlled, like it knew we were running out of time. We backed away instinctively, chairs scraping against the floor, breath coming out in short white bursts. My cousin slipped first. I heard the crack of bone against tile before I saw him hit the ground. When I reached for him, my hand slid instead of gripping. It came back red. Behind me, the Santa thing laughed, not loud, not wild, deep, pleased. The sound of something that had waited a long time to be unwrapped. The sack twitched as it moved, heavy shapes inside shifting and bumping against each other with wet, hollow sounds. The radio clicked to the next number, slower now, stretching the silence between counts until my chest burned from holding my breath. We ran. The kitchen door slammed behind us, and we shoved chairs, the table, anything we could, against it. For a moment, there was only our breathing and the hum of the refrigerator. Then the walls began to bleed. Thin red lines seeped from the seams, crawling downward like veins under skin. They widened, dripping onto the tiles in slow, patient drops. The refrigerator rattled violently before bursting open, spilling packages of meat across the floor. The plastic split. There was more red inside. The radio reached halfway through the count. The back door banged. Open. Then another boot stepped inside. Then another set. And another. Bells jingled in unison. Now a rhythm that matched my heart, no matter how hard I tried to slow it down. I peeked through the cracked doorway just long enough to see them. More Santas, their suits torn and stained, beards stiff with old blood, black hollow eyes reflecting the blinking Christmas lights as they fanned out through the house like they already knew where everyone would hide. One of them bent to pick something up from the floor, something that moved. I didn't wait to see more. I smashed through the kitchen window and fell into the snow. The cold shocked the air from my lungs, sharp and biting, but I didn't stop. I ran toward the woods, branches clawing my face, bells ringing behind me from every direction. Laughter echoed between the trees, layered and overlapping, like a chorus learning the same song. The counting reached its final numbers, and just before it ended, everything went quiet. No bells, no laughter, no wind, only my heartbeat, pounding in my ears as the woods filled with movement. Figures stepped out between the trees, dozens of them, Santa suits dragging through the snow, sacks trailing behind, leaving dark lines that the falling snow tried and failed to hide. They surrounded me slowly, deliberately, tightening the circle. One lifted a finger to his lips, shushing me. I slipped and fell into the slush, my hand sinking into something warm beneath the snow. As they leaned closer, the smell of iron and rot overwhelmed everything else, and somewhere near my ear, the radio voice whispered, cheerful and cruel. The bells rang louder, and I understood then. Christmas hadn't come to Briar Hollow. It had been waiting. I woke up in my own bed. That was the first thing that felt wrong. The room was warm. Too warm. Christmas lights blinked softly along the wall, casting red and green shadows across the ceiling. For a moment, I convinced myself it had all been a nightmare. The house, the woods, the bells, the counting, until I smelled it. Pine and iron. My clothes were folded neatly at the foot of the bed, stiff and darkened in places I didn't want to look too closely at. When I swung my legs over the side, something crunched beneath my bare foot. Snow. I stumbled to the window and pulled back the curtain. Briar Hollow was quiet, lawns trimmed, porches glowing with polite white lights, snow falling soft and forgiving, already hiding the stains. Down the street, my uncle's house stood at the edge of town, leaning toward the woods, exactly the way I remembered. The lights were still blinking, the gifts were still stacked. No police, no neighbors, no signs anyone had ever been inside. My phone buzzed in my hand. One new voice message. I didn't remember turning it on. The recording started with static. Then a familiar child's voice spoke, calm, careful, counting down slowly. I dropped the phone, but the sound kept going, echoing through the room. That's when I heard it. Bells, not outside. Inside the house, slow footsteps crossed the hallway. The floorboards creaked under something heavy and deliberate, moving with no hurry at all. The doorknob to my room turned slightly, Testing. From the other side, a voice whispered warm, pleased, and close enough that I could feel it in my chest. Cheerful and cruel. Merry Christmas. The bells rang once more, and just before the lights went out, I understood the truth. Christmas doesn't end, it just waits. If you're hearing this on Christmas Eve, if your house feels a little too quiet, if the snow outside looks untouched, listen carefully, because sometimes the bells don't mean he's coming. Sometimes they mean he's already inside.